Hi, and welcome to Pittman's Pumpkin Patch, Pittman's Garden Patch. It's July the 11th, 2013, and I got quite a bit of activity going on. As you can already see, there is a bee in that male pumpkin flower right there. There he is, doing his job. Look at him going around and around in there and getting all the pollen that he can. And I have a lot of activity going on this morning on the pumpkin patch. Right there is a female Mr. Wrinkles pumpkin in the Peppo family, and up there is another Mr. Wrinkles female pumpkin flower that opened up this morning. Whoop, there you see the bee just went right in there. Went right in there. Do your job. Normally I go in there, I do a lot of hand pollinating myself, and I did do that this morning. I knew I was having a lot of pumpkins going to open up this morning. I'm being brave here because, you know, I don't like bees and hornets and all that stuff like that, so I'm being extremely brave. Let me see if I can open up this netting to even more flowers. Thought I opened it up. Oh, a bee just went flying out. So anyhow, as I'm opening this tool material and trying to expose these flowers more to the bees, as you can see, tons and tons of flower. Oh, there's a bee in that one right there, right straight in there. Do your job, buddy. Now I'll tell you, I've been out here, of course, working back in late winter through spring and stuff, you know, doing a lot of work out here, and still continue to. And I'll tell you, there wasn't a whole lot of bees around, but as soon as these pumpkin flowers started blooming, man, the bees were going crazy. They started showing up in droves, and you know, so that's looking good. Take a look up at the top there. Okay, that is another female flower that opened up this morning, and that is a Howden plant. So I finally, if you've watched my last couple of videos, I talked about why I really like the Howden plants. Just that name, Howden, howl like a wolf howls, and it reminds me of Halloween, so I kind of make that connection. So that's my first Howden finally opened. I've been trying to grow these things for 3 to 4 years. And again, I had one that opened up late in the season about 2 or 3 years ago. But powdery mildew and squash vine borers got to it. And so this little baby fruit that did pollinate only grew to about the size of maybe a grapefruit at best. And then it went bad. I cut it off because the rest of the plant was just dead. And of course it ripened it all right up. But I don't really call that a success. But so this is my first time getting a Howden to really open up here pretty much. And now I did go up and hand pollinate that one this morning. Again, you know me, I do not like bees and hornets, but I snipped off a few male flowers and I went up there to the top, climbed on trampoline, got up to the top. And of course I couldn't see inside because of the angle of the plant, of the flower, you know. It's pretty much almost straight up and down to the sky and the earth. So what I did, you know, I just, you know, I shook the leaf next to it to kind of hit the petals to scare off any bee that was inside. And of course there was. Thank goodness he didn't come after me. I guess he was just too busy. And I just did my best with a sense of touch to paint. But I noticed a lot of my male flowers this morning didn't have a lot of pollen on them. And that's probably because the bees have been steadily busy, been very busy in here taking all the pollen away, you know. And so by the time I got to it around 6:45, 7 o'clock in the morning, you know, they had already gotten a lot of pollen. So, but I had some male flowers I took off yesterday, and here's a tip you can do. If you don't have females ready, but you're not sure if you're going to have males ready at the same time, when your males bloom, you can cut them off and put them in a Ziploc bag and, you know, write a little date on there when you got them, and put them in the refrigerator. And they last for about 6 to 7 days, you know. Now that's like a backup. You want your freshest pollen, the ones you want to get the morning of, when the female opens. You want to get the pollen from the male so the flowers are open up that morning. But just in case, you have a backup plan, and that's kind of like your second line of defense, if you will, to get pollen there. So I did all of that. So hopefully by the end of this day, I shall notice that female is growing in size, and then I'll know I have a Howden growing. Now that's off my really long plant. That thing goes up 8 feet up there, and I can see the vine going all the way, starting to go halfway across the trellis and going down. Plus it comes all the way back into this bush in here and comes all the way up into here. Okay, so it comes all the way over here. So it's going 4 feet across, and actually a little bit longer than that because I had to curve it around other plants and inside of there, inside the bed. So it goes at least 4 feet across, up 8 feet of trellis, and now it's going across probably about another 2 feet of trellis, and is already going down about another foot or two. So this vine from this Howden is well over 20 feet already, and it's coming down, and it's going to keep on growing. And you can see, hopefully you can see, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit, not too far over from that female that's opened up, there is another on the same plant, another female flower. Hopefully you can see it. Now the petals are still green on that one, but they are lightening up, and the petal is very puffy. The fruit is good and dark and green, and the fruit is swollen. It's swelling up some, so it's getting prepared to open. Okay, and it's usually good signs right there. Swelling, the petals are swelling. They turn yellow in the evening time, and the fruit is still good and dark green. There's no wrinkling on it. Plus the fruit is plump. It's getting bigger and bigger in anticipation of the flower opening. Now, what might happen if that female that's open today gets pollinated, it might keep that female from opening up, because the plant might decide that, well, I can't support 2 pumpkins, so therefore I will not open up this female flower, if this one over here gets pollinated. Okay, now it may decide that it can support 2, so it could very well happen tomorrow morning or the next day that this could open up. All right, so, but that's a decision that a plant makes. We don't think the plant is really thinking, but it does. If it doesn't think that it can handle, because of the water amounts that it's getting, the nutrient level in the soil, and the fertility of the soil, if it doesn't have a good recipe of that in the soil, then it will not try to open up a second or a third fruit when it already has one growing. So that's just kind of something to keep in mind. So, but we'll see what happens. If it doesn't pollinate, the one that opened up this morning, then that one will probably open up in the next day or two. We'll have to see. But anyway, so I was up there hand pollinating it and everything, doing the best I could, and I brought out my pumpkin flowers from the refrigerator yesterday. This morning I brought them out, and they had a lot of pollen on them still. So I think the bees got to all the pollen, or most of it, today before I could get to it. And so they've been steadily active in there. So, oh, and I did forget to show you, because I was so much talking about these others over here, I forgot to mention. All right, let me bravely walk past the stuff here. Now look, I have another female pumpkin. Female pumpkin. I have another pumpkin growing. I hand pollinated that one yesterday. Let's see if it's hard for me to see it. It should be right there in the center, right there in the screen. And that is a Mr. Wrinkles, and I hand pollinated, and it's already grown in the last couple of days. I must have used about 10 flowers on that one, because I was like, oh, I finally got a pumpkin in the Peppo family to open up. Yeah. So I was really excited, and bees be darned. I was going to do it just like I did with the Howden this morning. So, these Mr. Wrinkles can get to 25 to 30 pounds. So I'm already starting to try to think about, well, what can I do to support these plants? Is the trellis enough? Is the vines, is more importantly what I'm worried about. The vines supporting such a heavy weight without snapping and killing the plant. You know, people say about, oh, you can use some stockings and some, you know, things like that to make a hammock. Well, I probably can, and I might try that. But also, I'm thinking about, well, I have this tool material, even though it's not super strong, I could double it up or triple it up perhaps, and make it into something pretty strong and turn that into a hammock. So that's something I'm going to play with and see what I get. My tansy flowers are starting to, they're not quite blooming yet, but they're getting there. These have turned into, you know, just some little flower buds right there, and they're starting to open up slowly. So we'll see what happens with that. Oh, there's Mr. B in there again. I see. Oh, there was 2 of them in there. You guys go back to work. I'll just, oh, there's, ooh, one just almost got me. Oh, I'm scared. One just buzzed the tower. All right, let me move on to other things. Let me just scoot on by you guys. I'm not going to mess with you. I have no interest in messing with you. Oh, look, there's another male. Now, this is in the, this is a, hey, oh, there's a bee in there too. Oh, 2 bees in there too. This is a, Mr. Wrinkles also. Right there. And I haven't really been producing any females. It's not done so well in these beds over here. And these are the beds that don't have any compost and mushroom compost. But all these other two pumpkin beds over here have tons of mushroom compost and things, and they are just, look at that, just going crazy. These are my Big Macs and Cinderella pumpkins, and they are in the Maxima family, so I don't want their pollen cannot, oh, there's bees in there too, look at them. Bees, bees, bees. It's trash day. You hear the trash cans going around. So anyhow, I have pumpkins, probably about 6 or so pumpkins, 5 or 6 maybe, in here. You can see, and hopefully there's some Cinderellas up in there, and there's some Big Macs. I got a Big Macs down here on the lower level on the ground. Doesn't really seem to be growing any. It did at first, but then it's kind of stopped. So I'm wondering if it's truly been pollinated or not. I mean, it's right down in there, back in there a little bit, and it doesn't really seem to be doing a lot. So I just don't know how that's going to play out. Been taking. Here's something interesting to learn. I'm not sure if I shared it on my videos or not, about my blueberries. I didn't get a whole lot of production this year from them, but what I learned is that the North American variety of blueberries that we get, if they're native to North America, that the insides, we expect them to be blue because they're blueberries, right? Because the outside's blue, so we expect the inside to be blue or almost close to black. Well, I found out that the North American varieties of blueberries are actually green on the inside, and they are ripe and still green on the inside. Because I would bite into some that looked really good on the outside, and so I'd bite into it, and it tasted fine, but it was green on the inside. So I wondered, well, should I have waited another week or so? Well, I come to find out that no, they were ripe, just because they stay green on the inside, just like a green grape does. Okay, and it's still ripe and juicy. So I'm like, so when they look right on the outside, you give a slight little tug on it. If it comes right off, then it's ready. If it doesn't come off, don't keep pulling on them. That's the same with the blackberries. When they're black and shiny all over, and you give just a gentle little pull on it, if it comes right off, it's ready. If it doesn't, leave it alone. It's going to be sour if you pull it, force it off, and then try to eat it, and you're going to have not such a good taste in your mouth. Tomatoes. I picked 2 or 3 tomatoes off. Well, actually 4 tomatoes off yesterday, and so I'm getting some production. There's a couple more that need to come off and everything. We had a 10-minute downpour yesterday and everything, so I haven't had to do any watering lately. And we got, I have like 4 cucumbers growing now. You can see my large one right there, and it's probably about, I'd say, 7 inches, maybe 8. So it's about ready. There's a good shot of a Cinderella right there, Cinderella pumpkin, and then you can see my bigger one up there, right next to that that male flowers. Yeah, the leaf is covering up some of the size of it. That's a pretty good size. I think that's a Cinderella, and that's going to be a pretty big one. Just hear these bees going in there. Almost sounds like a hive. And there's another Cinderella tucked back in there. He looks like he might be the runt of the litter, you know. But he's tucked back in there, resting on top of the tool material. So that's another Cinderella. So got lots and lots and lots of flowers blooming this morning. So I have the potential of getting three more pumpkins pollinated by today. So I'm hoping it works. I'm hoping these bees are going to do a nice job with those two Mr. Wrinkles, and hopefully between myself and the bees we did a good job on that Howden up there. I really want that Howden to grow. I'm really pulling for it. Now unfortunately last night I was out here, and that same Howden plant that I was talking about that comes all the way down the trellis and back over here, I went down in there and I saw a leaf that was really bad. And so, I mean, even the whole stalk was just badly, damaged. And it was brown and nasty and all that kind of stuff. Well, I pulled it off and everything, and I saw another hole back there in the stem. I'm like, oh gosh, squash vine borer. And I took my knife and said, this is the same plant that's producing that flower today, and it's such a great big plant, and I really don't want to lose that one. This is my big hope for my Howden pumpkins this year, because this was the best Howden plant of them all. You can see the leaves on this thing, and I mean, this is crazy. All the other Howdens are doing all right, but this one's really was the champ from the get-go. You could tell it was growing better, bigger, stronger than all the other ones. And so now it looks like it's been attacked by a squash vine borer. It probably still has one inside of it, the larva. I took my knife and I cut into the vine, and I could see this brown goopy stuff inside, so that tells me he's been in there, and he's probably still in there. I didn't actually see one, and he may have already dropped out. He may be further up this vine inside doing its damage to the plant. But what I'm also hoping for, and I've heard about, if you have really good plants, strong plants, and they have been allowed to root themselves in multiple other places, because that's what will happen when the vine stays in contact with the soil. It will send down a tap root down into the ground, a white tap root in there, and it'll suck up more nutrients and water and everything to help support the plant, so that if something happens to the main stem because of a squash vine borer or whatever, the rest of the plant can survive as long as the squash vine borer doesn't keep on going through the whole plant. It's not likely that it will. It'll feed for a few days and then drop off into your soil, which you're going to have to tend with later on. When it gets into fall and winter time, you might want to go out there and kind of just lightly dig around a few things. If you find a little cocoon in there, you better get rid of it, because it's going to be your next season's squash vine borers. So anyhow, woo, just got buzzed the tower again. Oh, scared me to death. Oh, leave me alone, Mr. B. Well, I'm not messing with you. Sorry, don't mean to be a scaredy cat, but I am for those things. Ever since I was stung when I was a child. So anywho, where was I before I was buzzed? So I did some surgery on it and pulled out a few things, but it didn't look like a complete larva of the squash vine borer or anything like that. So I packed it up with soil, the compost and everything, and hopefully it'll be all right, and hopefully it's rooted itself in other places, and I'm pretty sure it has. And because once it's going up the vine, of course, it's not in contact with the soil anymore, and it's not going to do anything there. But what I could also do is I could go in there along that vine, if I suspect that borer is still in there, and I kind of do. I could take some soil and things like that and cover over those vines, and they will send down more root systems, roots into the ground, into the soil. So that's another trick that farmers do sometimes with their pumpkins. They will bury the vines, not the flowers, but they will bury the vines some, because it encourages more root growth along, sort of like what tomatoes you can do with tomatoes. You can bury them deeper and along the stem, and the vine, and it will send out more roots. Pumpkins do the same thing. So that's something I to think about. Anyhow, just send out some pumpkin prayers, will you? I want that. So enough said. And I look forward to hopefully reporting in the next couple days that I have another 3 more pumpkins growing. Hopefully, maybe even the 4th one, if that one up there does open up. So we'll see. I'm trying to keep an eye on that the female howling that's open up. Trying to keep the size of it in my mind, so that by the end of the day or by tomorrow I could say, oh yes, it's definitely growing, or nah, I don't know. So we'll see. All right, from Pittman's Pumpkin Patch, Pittman's Garden Patch. Happy pumpkin growing.